Welcome to another video. So we are going to talk about expanders in audio. So the last video I talked about audio compression, and today we are going to talk about expanders. I actually open a compressor here and an expander here, so I can explain the differences between these two tools. I'm using a different kind of audio material for the test, so I'm using string pad. Okay, so this is going to be our test material. So the reason I opened the compressor over here is for us to compare the differences between a compressor and an expander. Now, this kind of expander is called a downward expander. Cubase does not have an upward expander, which is something that works with negative ratios. Okay, so basically an expander is the opposite of a compressor. So a compressor, what we have is so starting from a certain level, when the sound reaches this point and moves upwards, so louder than this point over here, the compressor starts to reduce reduce the input signal with gain reduction, and we get an output signal that is lower than our input signal. So there's a gain reduction from signals starting from this point upwards. Now the expander works in a different way. So the expander is exactly the opposite. So the expander works the other way around. So basically, from this point down, the expander starts to operate. And what it does in this kind of downward expander, it basically it reduces the dynamic range starting from this point below. So I'm going to just bypass this one, and I'm going to activate the plugin. So now the expander is not working. But if I do something like this, so it's starting from this point downwards, which means that the expander is working at lower levels. It's going to decrease the dynamic range of the expander. Ultimately, I can do very interesting stuff, like, for instance, I can do a swell effect with the expander, something like this. If I can get it right. So this is not my computer breaking down. This is actually the expander working over over a specific threshold, and then on this threshold it decreases the dynamic range below over a significant amount of decibels, basically. So in this case, what I've done is I've set up the threshold to a specific level, and then we have this wom effect. Um, of course, if I so this is the expander also operates almost as a noise gate if I want, so I can. So this is almost like a noise gate. So from a specific point, from sounds with lower volume from this point, the sound is starting to cut off. Very simple to use. Of course, if I increase the ratio totally, it will operate as a noise gate. Now the ratio here is 8, but if this expander will be able to get infinite ratio, I would get a curve like this, and it will basically cut everything from this point below, and that's a noise gate. So that's basically a noise gate that I'm simulating a noise gate using the expander. Just so I can use the expander in different situations. For us, so I can use the expander as a noise gate tool to control noise, to reduce noise. I can use the expander as a creative effect, for instance, like I've done with this swelling sound effect. I can use the expander to decrease the dynamic range over starting from a specific threshold, or I could increase the dynamic range if this was an upwards expander, but it is not, because I don't get negative values. So this expander starts working from 1. Some expanders actually have ratios like -2, -2, -3, and the curve does something like this, and then like this. So it actually expands the dynamic range starting from a specific threshold. Of course, we have the same parameters as our compressor, but they change the definition. For instance, in our compressor, I have the attack, which is how fast. Sorry, which is how fast the compressor starts to work, and basically it starts from this point, which is our threshold, and from this point upwards, which means the compressor acts at lower volume, at higher volumes, it starts to activate. The expander works the other way around. So the expander works at lower volumes, and so it's just the opposite of the attack. So the fall is basically when the sound signal from our input falls with a certain duration, then the expander starts to work. So if I do something like this, it will act immediately from this point downward. The expander will start to work immediately. If I want something more smooth, I will do something like this. So I would probably increase the volume, something like this. So See the difference over here? So what I have done, I'm going back again to the swelling effect, but now I'm changing this parameter, the fall. So if I place this parameter at a very short duration, uh, at the exact moment that the sound falls under the threshold, um, it starts to expand. If I want something more smoother, I basically just increase the fall and acts in the sorry, and it acts in a different way. Then I have also the rise, which is the opposite of the release, which means that when the signal comes back to the threshold volume and it goes higher than the threshold volume, how long does the expander starts to release the signal, basically. Of course, then I have also the analysis of the signal. So am I analyzing the peak signal or am I analyzing the root mean square? And I have the hold, this is not a very it's not a very common parameter, especially in hardware compressors. But basically, this sets like a duration where the compressor is actually stabilizing or actually allowing the compressor to work between these two parameters. Um, so to be honest, it's something that I don't use that often. But of course you can use it if you want. We have also the soft knee effect. So this is hard knee, which means that the transition over the threshold is very abrupt. If I place this as soft knee, it smooths the transition over here as well. And I can do crazy stuff. Like for instance, I can put an expander and then I can put a compressor, one following the other. So actually, I've done this in this file over here. So I can do something like, let's say that I want to do the swell effect. And then I'm going to use to compress the signal. And it's okay, sorry. On. Need to decrease this. So now I'm using an expander to create this kind of swell effect, and then I'm compressing the sound with our compressor. There's also an important factor over here. The compressor, sorry, let me turn this off. The compressor has the makeup parameter, so we can compensate for the gain reduction. But the expander, at least this one over here, doesn't have that effect. And I think most expanders don't have that. I think most expanders don't have that effect over here. Sorry, I'm kind of rambling at the moment, but it's okay. Let me play this again. see the difference. This is the original sound. So we expanded, and with the compressor we changed the sound completely of our string pad. So the expander can be quite a creative tool. It can be also used for these kind of um, crazy effects. Of course, you can also use the compressor first if you want. Um, but to be honest, I actually prefer to use the expander in this case, and then use the compressor if needed. So that's basically it. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Thank you.